Hello, everyone's Forest Focus as we tackle your questions in our latest Nottingham Forest fan Q&A. Topics on the agenda include Nuno's game management, Anthony Elanga's form, and how to get the best out of Taiwo Awoniyi. Joining me to discuss those questions and more are, first of all, Emily Anderson. Emily, good morning. How are you?
Morning, very well, thank you. Yeah.
Good. Congratulations on your awards nomination. Very, very proud of you. I'm sure everyone is.
Thank you. I don't like to talk about it, but thank you. It's very kind.
Very good. Second guest today is an award winner, 2021 County Championship Player of the Year, Luke Fletcher. How are you, Fletch?
I'm very well, thank you. Good morning to you both.
Are you really very well?
Well, no, not really. I've got a bit of dust knocking around this morning for my end of season dinner, so yeah, I'm not 100%, but I'm looking forward to chatting to you guys.
Yeah, it's good to have you back on after your appearance the other week talking about yourself. But yeah, we'll get you more involved talking about Forest. And thanks very much to everyone who's sent some questions in via Twitter and channel members. And we'll take a few at the end from the live chat, time permitting. So good to have people with us this morning. First question via Twitter is from Hank Forest. And he writes, Nuno's in-game management is poor. If plan A works, a la Liverpool, great. But if it doesn't, we can't effectively adapt, especially if we go behind when he goes all frantic, like Brighton and Fulham. Why is this? What can be done to improve it? Fletch, I suppose you have to question the premise of the question, first of all. Do you agree that Nuno's game management is poor, first of all, or not?
No, I don't, to be honest. No, I don't. No, it's not what I see anyway. And I get that obviously everyone's got their own opinion on things, but, I was at the Liverpool game and I thought it was brilliant. And sometimes in sport and anything really, you can get things wrong and have a bad day. And I think looking back at Saturday, maybe it wasn't his best, but it's one of them things. And unfortunate we didn't look at our best, did we really? And tactically didn't look as good as we have in the previous weeks. But no, I don't agree with that.
What about you, Emily?
Yeah, I agree with Fletch. It was just a bad day at the office, I think, for Nuno, for various reasons, which I know we've talked about on the podcast before. There's been all the kerfuffle, obviously, about the red cards with Gibbs White and whether he was going to be on the touchline or not. So we didn't have Gibbs White in that pivotal role, and that's. I'm not saying that's the reason why we didn't do anything against Fulham, but it was one of those days that just didn't work, and it's almost a blessing that it's happened at this point, because my big concern was, as fans, we were maybe too optimistic, which is a really stupid thing to say, because we're all optimistic and we want to win every game that we play, but it's just a bad day. It doesn't mean that Nuno's tactics are wrong, because the Brighton game, that I think what Hank said, we were 2-1 down and managed to get back into the game and get a draw at Brighton, which for me is a really good result, and that shows that the tactics did work, because he switched the wingers and he put Sosa and Jota on, and they worked really well. So no, I don't put too much on the Fulham game. It was a really disappointing day. It was a really niggly game. Should have probably been a 0-0 really, because no team really deserved to get all 3 points. But I think we move on. We just move on and we just see how things go, because I think he's doing a great job. We're 10th in the Premier League. We're doing all right.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say poor. I think every manager has question marks against them to some degree. Steve Cooper's game management was certainly questioned. In fact, I was a Leicester fan, a friend of mine who knows football, was saying about Cooper's game management being terrible and costing them points, and that was probably a criticism leveled him at Forest. I think Nuno's occasionally been too conservative last season when things were going badly around the points deduction time. I think of Luton away when I don't think it worked. And then this season, he was probably overly proactive against Brighton, but like Fletch says, sometimes it comes off and sometimes it doesn't. I think Fulham was the only time when, like Gary was saying, and I think other people have said, that he got it wrong against Fulham. I think we can all accept that, but generally I think he's doing a really good job. Managers live by the sword and die by the sword. I guess that's the same in any sport, isn't it, Fletch?
Absolutely. You bang on, both of you there, really. And I think I agree with Emily what she said. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Maybe he wanted to try something out, see if it'd work. It's not, and we move on. And yeah, you're right. You live by the sword, die by the sword, and at the end of the day, it's him that's the front of the ship, and he's running it. So he's the one that's going to cop it. But I don't agree with what Hank has said personally. But I respect that he's a fan, and he obviously goes and watches and pays his money. So he's entitled to his opinion.
Second question is on the same lines, and we'll come with the same premise, I guess, of whether we accept what the person is saying in the question. Capanosity and Function, another standard Twitter name, who listens regularly. Since Nuno started, he's had more bad days than good days. Now he's had pre-season and his transfer window, it's on him. After the international break, he's 3 games, the type of which Forest has struggled to take maximum points from since promotion. Will Nuno change that trend? There's parts of the question I agree with and parts of the question I don't really agree with, Emily and Freddie in the background. Since Nuno started, he's had more bad days than good days, is the first part you kind of have to tackle. Is that fair? Do you want me? Do you need to take Freddie out of the room?
No, he's fine. He's just having a moment. He's fine, and he likes to make an appearance on the pod every now and again. So, morning, Freddie. Now shut up.
Morning, Freddie. Has he had more bad days than more bad than good?
No, I don't think he has. I really don't think he has. He kept us up last season against the odds. And yes, we had a disappointing finish, as in we finished 17th. We kind of scraped it in the end, but there were all sorts of reasons for that. He's had a great pre-season. We've had a really good start to the season. So how can, just because we've lost a game against Fulham where the tactics weren't right, no, I don't agree with that. I think he's had more good days with us, and it's still really early days with Nuno. Remember that the great managers take a long time to bed in with their teams. I think he's doing all right. There was more parts to that question, weren't there?
Yeah, but we'll go through the first part.
Yes, yeah. So for me, I would say the balance tipped sort of in favour of Nuno. I think he's more good than bad.
I think so as well. I think he's had bad days, certainly.
Absolutely.
Like
as do all managers.
Season. Yeah, Villa away last season, Brighton away last season were the 3 that always spring to my mind. But then I thought he did really well at the end of last season. And the start of this season, bar Fulham. What about you, Fletch?
Well, for me, I've seen a definite improvement from last season. But it's never easy coming into a new team, a new squad. As a manager, it's very difficult. You know, you think building your relationships with your players, planning for the future, how you want your squad to look. And I've definitely seen this season there's been an improvement. So I'm a big Nuno fan, and you know, it's took him a bit of time, but you know, I genuinely believe he's the right man for the job for Forest this season.
The second part of the question, Fletch, is interesting. I think he's got a point here. After the international break, he's got 3 games, the type of which Forest has struggled to take maximum points from since promotion. I guess obviously we've got Palace at home, West Ham at home, Newcastle at home in the next bracket of 4 before the international break, and Leicester away. Probably do need to take points from them to decide whether this season's going to be good, bad, or indifferent, don't we?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But I wouldn't look too far ahead, and I wouldn't look at it like that personally. You know, we had a game against Newcastle. I know it was a cup game, of which we did really well. Leicester away, we'll be thinking, you know, if we're at our best, we take 3 points there. Palace at home, I fancy us then. So yeah, I think we could be having this conversation in 5 weeks' time with 9 points. You know, you don't know. I'm more of a glass half full type of character. And I wouldn't look at it that way. I'll take each game as it comes, but they're all games that if we perform at our best and we get it right tactically, which I think he will, then there's no doubt we're going to pick up points. I really do.
Is that the thing at home, Emily, getting it right tactically? Because if you look at the home games, I think we were good against Bournemouth and Wolves. And as we sit here now, and I think Gary said it at the time, we probably should have won those games. It was the Fulham one where we got it wrong. If we go back to playing, you know, our best players and unleashing them a bit more, I think we can be optimistic. But we do need to improve home form. We can't escape that.
Well, the City Ground was the fortress, wasn't it? Particularly in our first season back up. And for some reason, there seems to be some sort of voodoo over the City Ground. I mean, part of the problem could be that when we're playing at home, the away team maybe sits back a little bit more, and we don't work very well with that. We work well as a counter-attacking away side, and that's why we're probably getting the results away from home. But yeah, I think we do need to get a win at home pretty pronto. And Palace is the next home game, isn't it? And like Fletch says, I think on our day, we should comfortably beat Crystal Palace because they're having a really, really poor start to the season. But equally, I don't want to look too far ahead. At the moment, my focus is on how are we going to make sure that we silence Cole Palmer at the weekend, and how do we try and get something out of Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. But yeah, I mean, the home form is a worry, but once we get one win, we'll be sort of all systems go, really.
Sorry, just to jump in on that, I see what you're saying there, Emily. I think teams come to Trent Bridge and they recognise it's a tough place to come and play.
City Ground, not Trent Bridge.
Sorry, the City Ground. it's across the road, but yeah, they come to the City Ground, and it's not an easy game. You know, the atmosphere. I know it's not been at its best this season, but sides come and it's a tough place to come. And maybe what you're saying there, Emily, is absolutely right. People sit back now; they've got a bit more respect for us, and they see us as a threat. So you know, maybe that's something to recognise from Nuno's point of view, and potentially go at teams a bit more, a bit harder, a bit early in the game.
Do you think home form becomes a mental thing for players? I know cricket and football don't translate, but in the T20 blast, if you're having a terrible time at home, does that translate or not?
Well, it's never great because you got your fans there at home, haven't you? So you sort of feel it more. But I've never understood this as a sportsman. It's still the same game. You know, once you've experienced playing in front of a big crowd, doesn't matter where you are. You know, you prep yourself for the game and you're ready to play. And I've never really understood this home away stuff. It's still the same thing for me. And I get that it is a thing. And you can get a bit of momentum, you can get on a bit of a roll, and you know you feel the crowd behind you. You're obviously more comfortable at home. You know, your surroundings, you even just staying in your own bed at night, all these little things. But no, I think it's still the same game. I think people make a lot about it, personally.
Next question is from, I don't even know how you say this, Eamander, Eamnder on Twitter. What's the plan moving forward for Omobamidele? Now seems to be fifth choice since Murillo came in. Wasn't even on the bench against Fulham. Clearly has potential, but needs game time at his age to realise that potential. What do you think about it? What do we do with Omobamidele? Because obviously Willy Bolly's going to be waiting in the wings when he's fit again. It's an interesting time for his career, Emily.
Yeah, I mean, from everything you've just said, that to me screams like a really good loan signing. Send him out, get him some proper game time because he's still really young, but very talented. So he can maybe have a season away from us, really build up his game, and then potentially when we possibly lose the likes of Murillo, which inevitably I'm sure we will sooner rather than later, he can sort of slot back into the squad. But at the moment, unfortunately, I think quite rightly he's behind Murillo, Milenkovic, Bolly, and Murillo, and that's nothing to do with his skill level. That's just to do with his age and his experience, I think. So yeah, for me, he'd be the perfect player to send out on loan.
He's only 22, and I was looking at his career stats. He's only played one full season where he's played regularly, 22-23 in the Championship for Norwich. Played 11 times for us last season in the Premier League, which is decent experience for a 21-year-old. But to improve your own development, Fletch, I guess you need games somewhere, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, you do. And it's a real tricky one because, you know, hopefully this doesn't happen. We pick up a couple of injuries at the back. All of a sudden we need him, don't we? And when he's come in, he's done well. He's done his job. So it's nothing personal really about his footballing talent, but definitely. And I think that's something similar with Taiwo Awoniyi as well. You know, I look at him and I watch him play, and he needs to play football. You know, he's obviously a fit and he's a strong man, but he needs to be on the pitch. You know, your game management, all these little things that you take for granted. If you're not playing on the pitch and you're not getting the game time, it's really, really difficult then to come in and expect these people to be on it straight away. You know, it's not easy. It's not as easy as that. And the Premier League's the toughest league in the world. So it'd be great to see him go and play somewhere else, but with a plan for the future down the line to come back and be ready for when we need him.
We'll come on to Taiwo shortly. I mean, was there a point in your career when you were about 2021? I don't know when you broke through or not, but you're at a big club, one of the biggest counties. The balance between patience and thinking, come on, I should be in the team here, which I guess Omobamidele probably thinks because you always back yourself.
I think at his age that he's obviously really young. Hopefully he's got a long career ahead of him. So it's about getting as much game time in as you possibly can. And to just relate it back to cricket, it's okay bowling the nets at people and training, but it's never the same as actually being on the field. So I think at his age, it's perfect for him to go on loan. It's a bit different when you get a bit older. But no, we need to get as much football into him as we possibly can.
Next question, a good one. Question from Jason on Anthony Elanga. He's been discussed quite a lot this season. Emily, is he delivering? Should we have taken Newcastle's money? Is there a cause for concern? What do you think on Elanga so far this season?
Let's not hit the panic button yet with Elanga. We know what he can do. Yeah, he's not had the best start to the season, has he? Had that really big moment against Liverpool, setting up Callum Hudson-Odoi. But other than that, he's probably not played to his full potential. But I'd have been really disappointed if an Elanga had left us at the end of the transfer window to go to Newcastle. I thought on Saturday he wasn't really played to his strength anyway. He kind of ended up sort of playing down the middle, and he looked all at sea and lost. We know he's best bombing down that wing and sort of cutting in or getting those crosses in for the strikers. So no, I don't think we should have sold him. We know what influence he's got in the dressing room as well. He's a great character. He's a great person to have on board, as well as being a really great player. And he's just not quite got there yet. But have faith. It's very early doors.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should have sold him at that time. Last day of the transfer window, you can't sell a player with no replacement. Maybe if it was earlier in the window. And I don't think he's having his best time of it. But the thing that springs to mind for me when I saw the question was Brennan, because we were discussing Brennan a couple of weeks ago when Spurs fans were on his back. Brennan Johnson, I should say, not Brennan. I don't know him. And now he scored 4 in 4 games. And people were saying, to me on Twitter that they would take Elanga over Brennan every time. If you ask that question right now, I imagine it'd be flipped, and people say they take Brennan over Elanga because he's in form. I just think form changes really quickly. A player's fortune can change. One game, Elanga goes and scores against Chelsea, and suddenly he's back at it, I would say. So that's my take on that one. What about you, Fletch?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, when Chris Wood first signed for us, everyone had a lot to say about Chris Wood, didn't they? But then you actually look what he's done in the last 15, 16 games for us. It's been phenomenal. Sport is fickle. It always has been. It always will be. And players do go in and out of form. They lose confidence, maybe pick up a niggle. We don't know if that's the case with Elanga. But with Elanga, I certainly think there's more to come. But again, he's still a young player. I know he's been around a bit. He's been at United. He's been around some top pros. But, there's definitely still more to come from him. But what he offers aside, not just on the pitch, but you can see now with this team, it becomes a bit, it looks like they're good friends. They get on well off the field, and that has a massive impact. And you want to keep them characters because the dressing room environment is just as important, and that has a massive effect on the field. So I do think there's more to come from Elanga, but I wouldn't have sold him there personally.
Would you pick Elanga over Jota Silva if you had to choose between the two, Fletch?
Yes, I would. Yeah, I would. I think he brings a lot. I mean, his pace is phenomenal, as we all know, and that's his main attribute. And he links up well with Ola Reina, who's been doing the right back the last few games. I think he's been right back, and Moreno on the left with Hudson-Odoi. Am I right there?
Yeah.
No, I would. I'd keep going with Elanga. I do love Jota though. He seems to have a bag full of energy, and he has an impact on every game he's come in so far, hasn't he? But yeah, we said this at the start of the last podcast. It's about building a squad. You want players to be rearing to go in the background, and that's something we've not really had in the last 2 seasons. Really, is the bench strength. So it's great we've got it now, and it's, for me, I think the toughest job as a manager is keeping them players happy and trying to get enough football into them as you possibly can. So it's a real tough one, but I really like Elanga.
What about you, Emily? It's a home game tomorrow. It's a game that calls for wingers. Based on current form and who you'd like to see start on the right wing, would it be Jota or Elanga?
I think I'd still stick with Elanga, actually. Jota's brilliant. I love his attitude, his work rate. I described him as like a Duracell bunny. He's just got so much energy, but I don't think he's quite a starter for us yet. I would still stick with Elanga, and I actually think Elanga, barring the Liverpool game where he's a super sub, tends to be better when he sort of when he starts the games. But I mean, they're brilliant. And how great is it that we've got a competition for places, because that will keep the players wanting to work hard. There won't be complacency. And Elanga will know full well that Jota is, there and ready to pounce if his form sort of dips or continues to dip. So, no, I think for the time being, I'd definitely stick with Elanga and Hudson-Odoi as my starting wingers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would as well. For now, obviously, Elanga's got to perform eventually, but I still like Jota as a sub. I think I said this yesterday. I think Nuno's easing him and Sosa in. I think Elanga could do really well, like last 20 minutes against tired legs and stuff like that. And obviously, we'll probably do that tactic against Chelsea. But just right now, I think you can see quality in players, and I think Elanga's got it. And just because he's not playing overly well at the moment, I've still got plenty of faith in him over the course of 38 games to get 5 goals and 10 assists again, which is a good season, I would say. So yeah, that's where I am on it. We'll come to more questions shortly. Just a word for the Trent navigation. Obviously, tomorrow is Wednesday, all Champions League nights. You can enjoy at the Nav, and I'm going to put that up again, and I'll extend the video for next time. You can get Peroni and pizza for only 12 quid, which is a bargain, because if Peroni's about 6 quid, then it's about 6 quid for Peroni, 6 quid for pizza. So that is a good deal. It's not the right time to ask you, Fletcher, what's your beer of choice, out of curiosity?
Oh,
none this morning.
I'm into the Campos at the minute. I'm loving that.
Which one?
Cruz Campo.
Oh, yeah.
I like Cruz Campo. Lager, normally, yeah. And then maybe a Guinness in the winter.
I'm not a Guinness person.
It's
Too heavy.
It is, yeah, it is, but it seems to go down well.
What about you, Emily? I know you enjoy a beer before the match. I've seen you.
I do. Do you know, I've had one Guinness in my entire life, and that was in Dublin, and that's where my Guinness journey ended.
It's better in Ireland.
It was really good to try it, but it was like having a full roast dinner. So, I love an Estrella Madri. To be honest, if you've seen me pre-match, I'll drink anything. So, prosecco, wine, gin, vodka. Yeah, love it. Love them all.
Very good. Very good. Side question I forgot to ask you about. Did you sit at the base of the shipping containers on Saturday? I heard you were. I haven't asked you about that. Is that right?
Me? I am for the Crystal Palace game. So I was right next to them there, because I was at the Brian Cliff, but with the Crystal Palace game, I've got tickets there. I was really worried about the view, because I was thinking, are you going to feel left out? But actually, it still feels quite compact. So it rounds it off quite nicely. It just looked a bit. The only thing I'd say is you felt a little bit awkward. But no, I'm looking forward to sitting there to see what it's like. And there was great merriment in the crowd, because Giant from Gladiators was sat in one of the new shipping container seats. So lots of people were getting very excited to see him. But no, hey,
I've not watched the new Gladiators.
Well, Giant is, as the name says, massive, humongous, lovely guy. Was there in his Forest shirt, and I know he's a regular to the City Ground, but yeah, lots of people, I think they were more excited to see him than the shipping containers, but they look way better in real life.
Have you watched New Gladiators, Fletch? I guess your son likes it.
Yeah, he loves it, and he loves Giant. He's his favourite one, so it'd be nice to
there you go.
live at the City Ground. He'd be buzzing with that.
There you go, fellow Forest fan. Very good, very good. Next question is from Dale Green. The squad depth is so much better, but the elephant in the room is the striker. I thought Taiwo muscles his way a number of times and just needs match fitness. We seem to change out certain positions every game. Should we be doing this with our 2 strikers? God help us if Wood gets injured. I think basically the question is, should we be giving Taiwo more minutes off the bench and not just chucking him in for a start, Fletch? Because he didn't play. I don't think he even came on in the previous 2 games, and then he's starting. It was a bit curious, I thought.
Yeah, I'd like I said before, he strikes me as someone, and I know all footballers need match fitness, but he needs it more than most, I think. When we've seen him in the past few seasons, when he's had 5-6 games under his belt, he looks a totally different player. That's nothing down to his physical fitness, because he's a beast and he's strong, he's fit. He just needs to be on that field as much as he can to get the best out.
You? Yeah, I think so. I think he needs minutes. What about you, Emily?
I think he needs minutes. I was really surprised to see him in the starting lineup on Saturday, particularly in that formation. And it didn't really work. But, Taiwo's had his problems. He's had his injuries. I think Matt in the comments suggested potentially that we should sell him. But we wouldn't be getting any sort of decent money for him if we were to sell him now. I think we need to give him more time. And like Fletch said earlier, when we first got Chris Wood, there are lots of people raising eyebrows and saying, why on earth are we buying him? Why have we been tied into a contract with him? And he's delivered. I think Ty's probably really lacking in confidence at the moment because he had the awful penalty miss against Newcastle. He's obviously been ineffective so far this season. But I think we just need to be patient. And for me, it's minutes off the bench. It's not starting games. And hopefully once one goal goes in, the rest will follow. But I don't think now is the time to sell him because financially, I don't think it would work.
Yeah, and even if I accept he's not playing well. I'm not saying he's not playing well, but we've only got 2 strikers, Fletch, at least till January. So we can't just keep flogging Chris Wood into the ground or taking him off and playing Elanga up front because I don't think that works. So you've really got to give Taiwo minutes just to at least ease the burden on Wood at the very minimum, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm sure they're thinking long term as well about the possibilities of getting another striker in. But he needs to be ready that if touch wood, Chris Wood does get an injury, then he needs to be ready to play. So, do they play reserves games anymore?
They play 23s, but I haven't seen him play. I don't think almost no first team players feature in these 23 games and B team games. They played last night, and I don't think any played, but I'll have a look. Maybe
they should get him into that a bit more. You know what I mean? I know it's a totally different standard, but at least you're actually getting the minutes in your legs and you're playing the game. Maybe that's something that's gone out of the game.
Yeah. And you need to play him. Even if you're planning to sell him, you need to play him. He's got 0 market value if he's played 0 minutes.
Exactly. Emily's made a great point there that what is the point in selling him? You know, financially, we're not going to get anything from it. But no, I think, you know, there's obviously a player in there and he's done well for us in the past and is at a decent age now. But he needs minutes in his legs. That's just the bottom line for me.
Last night, the under 20, the academy team, which I think is under 21s, they call it now. It veers between under 21s, under 23s. Eric da Silva Moreira started. He was the only name of first team note that featured. I think they lost 2-1 to a late goal. Joe Gardner scored, who's a decent young talent, certainly. So, let's move on to the next question. Excuse me, Richard Ottaway. With Sangare and Danilo, we seem to lack movement in midfield, someone to pull opponents out of position and move the ball quickly. Murillo has the qualities to dominate the middle of the park and have more influence. Do you think Nuno might explore this and use Morato to cover him? We've been asked this question so many times about Murillo in playing midfield. I'm dead against it for a couple of reasons. Firstly, our centre-backs are really good, and I don't see why you want to break them up. And I don't think Murillo playing midfield and playing centre half, I think they're actually worlds apart. And you know, you move players into different positions and they can struggle. Like I suppose Trent Alexander-Arnold in the Euros, he's an incredible footballer, but he wasn't an effective midfielder. So for me, Murillo definitely stays. But Emily, answer that as well. But also, I think Richard's right about Sangare and Danilo, especially Danilo. I thought we missed him in midfield on Saturday. What do you think about that midfield and Murillo debate in general?
Yeah, we've been really unlucky, haven't we, losing both Sangare and Danilo. And it's a hard no for me on Murillo moving into midfield because you've got a great centre-back pairing in Murillo and Milenkovic. So why on earth would you break that up? Like you say, it's a totally different discipline being in midfield. And with Milenkovic being so solid, Murillo can still bomb forward like we know he loves to, and Milenkovic covers. And I noticed on Saturday, Ryan Yates kind of slipped into that role as well when Murillo was bombing forward. So it's a definite no from me. We just need to work out that blend in midfield without Sangare and Danilo. What was it? James Ward-Prowse and Yatesy? Not so sure. It's a difficult one. I think we're just really unlucky to have lost those two. For at least the next month or so, haven't we?
Jason says in the chat that Murillo could play anywhere else, it would be left back, and I agree with that. I could see him doing a job at left back if we were really struggling, but I think that's more of a positional change that he could make because he's still playing as a defender and still playing offside and all that stuff. What do you think about midfield at the weekend, Fletch, and also on Murillo moving positions?
Well, I'm dead against Murillo moving, and I always think that once you've got a settled defence, you want to just keep it like that. You don't want to mess with. And I'm really happy with our defence. I would stick with what we're doing now. I wouldn't tamper with Murillo. And yeah, the midfield is always a challenging one for any team. When you lose a couple of big players to injuries, it's difficult. Someone's got to fill that hole, and we haven't managed to do that yet, have we? We've chopped and changed the midfield a bit. But yeah, it's certainly something that I'm sure they're looking at. Nuno and his coaching staff, they're trying to find the right formula. But it's really, it's difficult. I'm not quite sure what the answer is, to be honest. But yeah, they're the challenges of sport. You lose a couple of your best players, and you got to try and fill that gap.
I think Yates did. Yates did a solid job on Saturday. I still don't think they know how to get the best out of Dominguez, because he wasn't playing as a winger. He wasn't playing as a 10. I'm not really sure where he was quite meant to be playing. And Anderson, I thought Anderson was a bit wasted. Ward-Prowse is getting a bit of hammer, Emily, in the chat. I mean, he's only played 3 games. I think it's a bit premature to be judging him yet. I don't think he was very good against Fulham, but we've got to give players more time, haven't we, I think?
Absolutely. He's been thrown straight in. It was after the international break, wasn't it? And I think he's a decent 7 out of 10 already for us every game. Something I saw on Twitter yesterday, actually, that made me laugh. It's so Forest do you remember when he got subbed? He got subbed just after we got a free kick. So we didn't even keep our set piece taker on to take the free kick before he was subbed. And I just thought, it's classic, isn't it? But no, God, we're putting too much pressure on it, really. Give him time to get to know the squad. He's still relatively new. He's very low key, isn't he, James Ward-Prowse? He doesn't strike me as a big character like the likes of Aina and Elanga. He's just quietly going about his business. He didn't have the best game on Saturday, but yeah, just give the guy a break, I think.
Yeah, he wasn't like people say he was passive against Fulham, which I think is a fair word. He wasn't. He didn't influence the game enough. But I'd like to see him playing, with wingers and people to hit and all that kind of stuff. It just wasn't the right setup for him, I would say, on Saturday. Next question from Mart Hoskins. Thanks for your question, Mart. Do we think we're any closer to the main stand developments, as it does feel like we're staying at the City Ground with all the enhancements? Yeah, I think everything's on track. I was talking to people a couple of weeks ago, and the club's intention then was to knock down the Peter Taylor stand as soon as possible, really. So it's been going on so long, it's kind of a believe it when I see it. I think people adopt that mindset and become increasingly more doubtful and cynical because we've been waiting for such a long time. But they're investing in the City Ground, and I think everything. The plan is very much to stay there as it stands, which it didn't look like it was a while ago, and redevelop the Peter Taylor stand and the Bridgeford end. It's interesting they spent all this money on the owner's lift. It feels like that's a lot of money on every lift ride to knock that stand down in a couple of years. But I'm sure that is the intention. Unless we hear otherwise, there would be a pretty drastic shift in direction. But yeah, thanks for the question, Mart. Jackie Howarth and Steve Cook asked similar questions, not the Steve Cook, in the membership thing. What's the panel's view on the reason for lack of support at home? One of the members put it down to the change in prices for the 18 to 21-year-olds. What's your thoughts, please? What can be done to improve the atmosphere? We discussed this the other day, Fletch, with Mikey and Temps and Gary, and felt it was like just a combination of things that have dented the atmosphere. What do you think about? Is it bad or not that in the City Ground this season? What can be done to change it?
Well, I don't think it's bad. I think obviously the year we got back in the Premier League, everyone was so excited and buzzing, so that naturally brought a lot more energy and to the place. Maybe we've got a bit more comfortable in some way, that we're doing well this season, and there's more of a bit of an expectancy that we're going to stay in the Premier League. Prices have gone up, but nothing you can do about that. They're not going to go down, are they? But no, I don't think it's been too bad, to be honest. I think it's still been all right. But I mean, compare it to the year we came back, it'd be very difficult to replicate that. But it'd be interesting to see what your two's thoughts are on this as well, because I haven't noticed it that much when I've been there. I thought it's been pretty good.
I think I kind of wonder, Emily, if is this the baseline for the atmosphere of a Premier League club? I think Fletch is right. 22-23 season was mental because every game felt like a massive event, and I think inevitably with time that dissipates. I was surprised it did last season so quickly, but this season it's gone down, and we're not winning at home.
No.
I think that's a big factor. If we were winning at home, the place would be rocking. And so those are the two things for me.
Definitely. I was just about to say, probably one of the big reasons for this season is we've probably not had a great deal to cheer about. I find that Forest fans are most vocal when our backs are against the wall and we're really fighting for survival or we're fighting for something. For me, the Man City game where we drew 1-1 and the Arsenal game where we nicked a 1-0 were just the most incredible atmosphere I've ever really heard at the City Ground while we've been in the Premier League. It's a really good shout, actually, talking about the price changes, and maybe there aren't so many younger people coming to games, pricing certain people maybe out of the game, which means the prawn sandwich brigade are maybe taking up more of the seats and maybe aren't so vocal. I wish it was louder at the City Ground. I love a good sing song, and I love the chants and the whole crowd getting behind the team. But I wonder if once performances maybe start to improve, then maybe the ground will get a little bit louder. But compared to some grounds, we're still really, really loud. I've been to certain other Premier League grounds, and honestly, it is seriously like a library. So I don't know what the answer is. I think the first season we went up was like no other, and every single game was just a cauldron of noise. So maybe we are just settled into our Premier League years and we just have to deal with it. And when those big, exciting, backs against the wall games come, as they do sometimes come in the Premier League, that's when we'll be back to having that cauldron. But yeah, I wish it was as loud as it had been, but I think definitely against Fulham, it did feel quite quiet.
There's some interesting comments in the chat as well. Jay reflecting what Emily said, we're better as the underdogs. I think that's true. And Paul says we need a big team. We haven't really played a big team yet. Once the top 6 team comes, then it will be good. Where are the banners? I don't think we can have an expectation for Forza to do something week in, week out. That's an exception to the rule. Almost no Premier League club that I can think of has what Forza provide. I guess I'm defensive of them because of Greg, certainly. Matt says about, I agree. I've said this repeatedly, don't price out the young fans. And James says about, Emily's right. Some of the grounds you go to, there is no atmosphere. You see Man City on TV every week and it's dead. I went to Wolves last season. It was pretty dead. And covering games previously, I remember going to West Ham last season. It was very quiet. I've been to Chelsea before. Forest is still right up there. Just the first season we came up, we were the best ground in the league. Brighton as well is referenced. And I've been to Fulham away and it's quiet. Jason says Jason says we don't have a chant for Nuno. We do have a chant for Nuno.
Yeah, it's all about his beers, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if
I'm very against any artificial noise. So the banners is great, I get that, but it's a huge amount of work for Forza Garibaldi. So I understand why they can't do that every game. But I know there was talk, was it last season or the season before? Forest put out a poll: do we want the happy clappers and do we want artificial noise?
Leicester and Derby do it, don't
they?
No,
I'm totally against that. Yeah, no, I think we can create our own atmosphere with our voices. We don't need clappers to help us with that. So that's a hard no. I think we just got to dig in and hopefully, like you say, once a inverted commas big club comes in, we'll be loud and proud and singing our hearts out.
Is there a responsibility for fans to make noise, Fletch? Is that part of an unwritten contract, do you think, as fans or not?
No, I don't think so. No, actually, you have to earn it from a player's point of view. I think. It's your job to go out there and get the crowd going, and that you do that by performance. And like Emily said a minute ago, we haven't been at our best at the City Ground this year, so people potentially are a bit grumpy and they want to see a bit more from the players. But I think once we get on a bit of a roll and we put in a good few performances and people start to feel it bubbling up again, we'll have it rocking. Honestly, I was at Anfield a couple of weeks ago, and that really shocked me. I was really excited to go. I've never been to Liverpool before, and I thought this place is going to be so loud. It'd be a great experience, and it wasn't. It actually wasn't, and that made me think. Well, actually, what we've had at the City Ground, we should be grateful for, and we'll get that back. We'll get that back, but it is down to the players, I think, to get that place going. Get and feel the connection with the fans. Once you get that connection, we'll have it rocking again like we did a couple of years ago for sure.
Greg referenced that as well. Greg went to Liverpool and said that it was nowhere near what he expected. Greg's on the overlap this week talking about that. It'd be interesting digging out the Liverpool crowd in front of Carrick. I look forward to seeing how that plays out. But yeah, that will come out later. Right. There's one more question to go, but we've probably got like 5 minutes or so. If anyone's got any questions they want to drop in the chat, now is a good time to do it. And if you've got any, then we'll try and tackle them quickly. And do us a favour, if you're watching this live, hit like on the video. It does make a big difference, as I always say. Last question is from Trevor, who always asks this question, so I thought we should take it because he's a big proponent of this. Can I ask the panel about their view on young players? I don't think they're getting a fair deal. I've been a fan since 1956. That is a good innings and a good stint, Trevor. Remember Brian Clough putting them in the team at 15 or 16. Doesn't matter how long ago, as you need to have faith in youth. What do you think about that as a premise, Fletch? And also, I don't know if we've got any young players coming through, but making the step from kids football, not kids, you know what I mean, to the Premier League. Is that the biggest issue we have now?
Well, it's the physical side of things. Obviously at a young age, your body's not quite developed, so that can be a big challenge. But I've always thought in any sport, if somebody's good enough, just chuck them in, even if they're 40 years old. Doesn't matter to me. If someone's producing and they're doing well, get them in there. And I think Nuno's that type of character as well. I really do. I think if someone's really standing out in the academy and performing well consistently, I think he'll fast track them through. We've had a great start to the season. We've lost one game. There's not been that many opportunities for players, has it?
No.
And he's sort of stuck with what he's stuck with. But if like I said, if you're good enough, get him in.
I was looking just then about trying to think of young players who were breaking through this season. Emily, Dibbling at Southampton was the one who sprung to mind. He was so good against us. He's starting up front for Southampton last night at the age of 18. I suppose part of it is like Southampton are rubbish and scratching around for things. We're in a pretty good place as a team. So it's probably one of the other factors that we're not going to rush players through at the moment. But it would be great to see, wouldn't it? If we've got this proud record with players in the squad going back for 4,000 games or something. So we do want to see that happen. It's just a question of timing, maybe.
Yeah, when it's probably bad timing for the academy players to try and break through because we've got such a strong squad. I was just while Fletch was talking, I was just trying to find on my Instagram on one of these Techers sites, a young Forest Academy player has been highlighted as a real potential superstar for the future. And I can't for the life of me find out who it is, but it's some young kid who's already just incredible in our academy. So it'd be interesting. I can't remember his name. So I guess that would be a potential one. And I totally agree. If you're good enough, if you're good enough, you're old enough. I just don't think there's anyone of that ilk at the moment really within our squad. So yeah, I mean, it's a shame. I do feel sorry for the younger players that probably in the good old championship days probably would have got a start, but we're just in a different place now. And yeah, Southampton have got Dibley, but he's probably not facing as much competition, is he?
No, I know Leicester had like McAteer come through last season, but that was in the Championship. I know. I want to think. You referenced that player at Forest. I was Googling him, and there is a kid who was not Zach Abbott. Zach Abbott's obviously one. We should have mentioned Zach Abbott, who is on the fringes, and there's probably a factor in Joe Worrell being released to go to Burnley. There is another player, and I can't remember his name, but I'll try and have a quick think about it. Right, let me just see if we've had any questions before we depart. Pat Brett, do we need a new number 6? Or do we need a number 6 at all with how good our defence is? I mean, I guess, Fletch, we're not really playing with one at the moment, and we're still looking very good defensively. I mean, there's no way we should have conceded on Saturday, but for the penalty, I guess, was there?
No, I don't think we do. No, to answer the question, is it Pat?
Yeah.
Like I said before, our defence looks really settled at the minute, and it looks in control. There's a confidence from a fan's point of view watching them. So I would just stick to it as it is. Obviously, like we said, the midfield was a bit of a not an issue, but we need to fill a few holes and find what's the right formula in a way that's going to work for us. But I would leave the defence as it is.
I think it's impressive that we do look in good shape, in front of the defence. Losing Sangare and Danilo has a big impact. So I think I'm all right not signing another number 6 at the moment. I think we've struck a different balance to cover it. So I'm happy with how things are. I do think we missed Sangare though, in terms of I found it. I found the young player. Sorry, I was trying to do that and talk at once and scroll through my phone. Well, I do think we missed Sangare in terms of what he can bring in terms of breaking up play, but Yates does it in a different way, mostly by falling on the ball and looking at the ref and getting a foul. But it does the job, certainly. So, yeah, I'm okay with it. Zion Blake, I'm sure, was the one that springs to mind as a player who's a good prospect. If it's not him, then I'm just giving Zion Blake a good shout out. It might not be him at all. Right. Next question, if there are any. Let me just see. Who's a striker we could pick up in the next transfer window? No idea. Clubs have like hundreds of names on their lists. I think the guy at Frankfurt is the top scorer in the Bundesliga. Omar, I can't remember his name, who we tried to sign, which is slightly frustrating. But I don't know. You just have to go with who you've got, don't you, Emily? And trust the club to come up with someone. I can't think of anyone that springs to mind.
No, there's no one that would be available to us off the top of my head. We'd probably have to go into the unknown market away from the Premier League. But yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier, didn't we? We haven't got a lot of cover for the strike positions, and the worry is if Wood and/or one you both get injured, we're really, really struggling, aren't we? But I can't think of anyone that potentially we could bring in. I'm just trying to think of the Championship if there's anyone that could make the step up.
Yeah, we can sign a Luton striker when they're in League One because they're not exactly doing much, but they've got some decent players. No, I don't know. I mean, Nketiah was the one I'm disappointed we missed out on. He's not even playing as a striker for Palace, though. They're playing him as like a number 10 or a winger, so he might regret not making that move. So, yeah. Any thoughts of players that spring to mind, Fletch, or not?
Just trying to think now when you're both speaking. No. I think Emily's bang on. You're going to probably have to go in the unknown market, really. But they'll be at it now. Of course, they'll be at it. They'll be writing the names down of potential players to bring in, and then it's just down to the availability and making it work really for both parties. So it's no one really sticks out for me at this moment in time. But I'm sure something will come up over the next few weeks or months down the line.
We've got a few more, so I'm going to just rattle through them really quickly in the next 2 minutes or so. What does success look like for Forest this season, Emily, after the weekend? Any revisions or not?
I'll stick with what I've said before. Anything 14th and above, I'll be delighted.
Yeah, same for me. I was saying that. Tried to say that consistently, even when we were winning at Liverpool and stuff like that. We need to win home games. We need to score more goals. So 14th for me. What about you, Fletch?
Yeah, well, I was a bit more hopeful. I was thinking more like 10th to 12th, around that sort of region. And I think if we do find our form back at home, then that's definitely achievable. But yeah, success would be. I agree. Success 14th above would be a brilliant season. Then we look to build on that for years to come.
David, should we reserve 200 tickets or so for a ballot at home games to allow new people to come in? Possibly. It's a bit tricky. They used to give tickets to school kids. I think that would be good still. Obviously, now we're in the Premier League, the ground just sells out no matter what, relentlessly. So I don't think that's something the club are going to do as long as we're in the Premier League, certainly. Question from Jason Fletch. Should we be concerned about a backup for Morgan after Saturday? I don't know. We didn't really try and play with a backup for Morgan on Saturday.
No, we shouldn't. No, let's not all panic here. You know, like I said, we've lost one game this season. We've been brilliant. We've had a good start. We don't need to be concerned yet.
Who will be top scorer, Emily? I can't remember who you said at the start of the season. Question from Gary.
I can't remember who I said. Shall we go Callum Hudson-Odoi?
Yeah, possibly. He should have scored. No, he should. I can't say he should have scored on Saturday. It was brilliant play to make the chance. It was frustrating that he didn't score on Saturday. People will know is Omar Mamouche, who's smashing it in the Bundesliga. Jed asked, should we have gone for Calvert-Lewin? No, I don't think so, because he's got a terrible injury record and now he's fit. He's flying again. But if we'd have signed Calvert-Lewin, people would have gone mad about it. Jonathan David from Lille, yeah, interesting one. And Kevin Denke from Churchill Bruges, people are saying, I've not seen him play. There's so many players you throw these names at and you think, yeah, he looks really good. I think you just have to trust the scouting department. Last question, Simon Olsen, halftime snack of choice, Fletch, if you have one.
Probably a sausage roll if it's cold.
If it's cold?
No, if the weather's cold.
Oh, okay. You're doing if the sausage roll's cold. You got to have sausage roll hot, haven't you?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I want it piping hot. Cold.
Very good. Very good. Here's a complaint from me about Forest's hot pie offerings. They are like nuclear weapon hot, and they last for. You can't eat them till half time. You have to buy them pre-match. So I know you don't want to give anyone food poisoning, but they don't have to be 100 degrees and boiling inside when you buy them. Emily, what about you?
Mine would definitely be a chocolate bar. I've just got to quickly go, but I'll be back.
Oh, we'll probably end it by now. Okay, a chocolate bar. Come back and tell us the chocolate bar. Right, thanks to everyone who's watched. We shall be back tomorrow with David Jackson, so do join us for that. And then on Thursday, the match preview, and Friday, the opposition preview. If you haven't already, do us a favour and vote for us in the Football Content Awards. Best Premier League podcast, best new content creator. Would very much appreciate your support in that. Fletch, any final words? Anything you want to add before we depart?
No. Let's just keep the faith, everyone. Let's not panic. We've got a long season left. We'll keep the faith.
Very good, very good. I don't know if you're back, Emily. You can literally just say your Kit Kat or whatever.
I had an important call I was meant to take and I missed it.
Oh, yeah,
so I'm probably in trouble.
that.
It doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. So what did I have at the weekend? I had a Twix, but I'm partial to a Mars bar, Snickers. But yeah, it was a Twix. I shared a Twix with my good friend Emma at the weekend because you only get the king size and they're too much for a halftime snack. Final thoughts?
Yeah. Final thoughts? Anything you want to add?
Keep the faith. We're doing fine. We're 10th in the Premier League. It's all good. It's all good. It's great.
What was I going to say? No, I don't like a Snickers. I'll take a Mars bar. I can't have a Snickers. Fletch, any final thoughts on chocolate? Because I just don't like them. Peanut chocolate's rank.
It's an elite chocolate snack.
Snickers. Mars bar's shocking. I'm a Snickers man.
Mars bar's shocking.
Anything, I'd go probably a Yorkie. I like a Yorkie.
Yeah, I like
they hurt your teeth. They hurt your teeth.
Just let it go in your mouth. Lovely.
Yeah. Well, as long as you don't put it in the fridge. That's going back to a long running thing on this podcast. Right. Thanks for everyone's company. Appreciate you being with us today. Like I say, back with David tomorrow. But if we don't see you then, we shall see you soon.